Ramona and Beezus. To me, this is one of those movies that you've probably at least heard of if you were a kid around this time, considering they were always airing commercials for it. Releasing in July 2010, the movie is an adaptation of the Ramona book series. I say book series because apparently it's like a combination of a few different ones, not just one singular book. It focuses on Ramona, played by Joey King, as she tries to get through life being, well, herself. There's also her older sister Beezus, played by, I don't know, this person you might have heard of named Selena Gomez. Shout out Benny Blanco, I guess. Nah, but seriously, Ramona and Beezus is a movie that I always used to see and hear about, but I never actually checked it out until recently. You guys seem to have some pretty positive things to say about it too, man. I must be in for a treat. So sit back, relax, and grab a box of whatever food was popular in 2010, Grips or something. Sure, let's go with that. Today we will be watching and reviewing the 2010 family film that apparently was not made by Disney, Ramona and Beezus.
When life is full of ups and downs, sometimes all we need to succeed is a big imagination.
I can be extraordinary. I'm glad we agree.
And a big sister.
Every princess needs a little sparkle.
Don't miss Selena Gomez.
You don't worry about coloring inside the lines, you know? It really depends on the picture.
In Ramona and Beezus, Friday at 7 on Nickelodeon.
Ramona and Beezus came out on July 23rd, 2010. It's directed by Elizabeth Allen Rosenbaum, who you might know for directing the movie Aquamarine. And like I said in the opener, it's based off of the book series created by Beverly Cleary. Now, here's the interesting thing. The movie is called Ramona and Beezus, but there is no book called Ramona and Beezus. There is, however, a book called Beezus and Ramona, but that's not what this movie is adapting. No, the events of the movie are mainly taken from the sequel books called Ramona Forever and Ramona's World. I didn't read these books as a kid, but I was relatively familiar with them. The name Beverly Cleary always gives me nostalgia for some reason, probably because her books were everywhere in my school library. And the crazy thing is, these books originated in the 50s, so they've been in book syndication for years. So many generations have grown up with this series. It was just a matter of time before they gave it its own film. I was more of a Junie B. Jones kid growing up, but maybe we'll talk about that another time. Funny thing is though, whenever I would see promos for this movie on Nickelodeon or whatever, I always thought Selena was Ramona because, well, her name came first, and I figured they wouldn't cast Selena Gomez in the movie just for her to be the second scoring option to some little girl. But that's exactly what they did. Joey King is Ramona, and a lot of the movie is centered around her, with Selena being Beezus. I honestly think the only reason why this movie was called Ramona and Beezus instead of just naming it after one of the Ramona solo books was so you could advertise the fact that Selena, who was a big name in kids' entertainment at the time, was in it. It would make more kids want to see it with their Waverly Place backpacks and all. The movie also stars Josh Corbett, who you most likely know from My Big Fat Greek Wedding, Jennifer Goodwin, who's been in some stuff I've kind of heard of, and Josh Duhamel, who we of course know for hosting the Kids' Choice Awards in 2013. Additionally, we have again an appearance by the one and only Hutch Dano from Zeke and Luther. Pretty good cast, honestly. Is the movie good enough to warrant such a cast though? Well, let's find out. The movie starts off with a very Ramona-centered introductory scene, even featuring some narration from her. In said narration, we get a rundown about her character, detailing her overactive imagination, which is something I'm sure every kid who ended up having ADHD has been told at some point, myself included. We're also introduced to her friend Howie, played by Jason Spivak, who I didn't even realize till a few seconds ago was Dino Dan. That's so cool. The dude had the best job ever. Howie's cheering on Ramona as she attempts the monkey bars, but unfortunately her previously mentioned overactive imagination starts to take control, as we see the monkey bars from her perspective. I feel like even if I had no idea if this movie was based on a book, I'd be able to tell based on the sequences like this. It just has that kind of vibe to it, you know? It's like they're trying to capture the style of a book, and it is really cool. You didn't see stuff like this too often in kids' movies. Ramona ends up getting stuck in the monkey bars, which leads Howie to run and get his teacher, Mrs. Meacham, played by Sandra Oh. The whole class stares at her as she assists Ramona with her monkey business. Sorry, that was stupid. Ramona and Howie hop off the bus and go back to their respective houses. We're then introduced to the other members of the Quimby household, Roberta the baby, Mom the mom, and Beezus the Selena Gomez. Just then, we're introduced to the last Quimby family member, Dad the dad. I don't know why I started doing this, but we're here anyway. The dad gets ambushed by his family members and, man, look at this cute little white family. While preparing the table for dinner, the topic of an old friend Beezus used to have gets brought up, Henry Higgins. Fun fact, Henry Higgins ended up getting a book of his own too. Very cool. They also talk about report cards and when Ramona should be getting hers. So she takes it out of the freezer and the father reads it out loud.
But lacks focus, often daydreams, disputes the need to spell words correctly, and has very little respect for the rules of grammar or rules in general.
Yeah, no, that's totally me and probably some of y'all too. I would also get easily distracted by others. I'm so glad I don't have to deal with report cards anymore. Just hearing her talk about her struggles in class, and especially with her teacher who's quote unquote no fun, just gives me a lot of flashbacks to when I was in school. So far, I can totally relate to her character. Her family fails to understand her, so she locks herself into the bathroom and empties out an entire thing of toothpaste in the sink. Could you imagine if this happened on Everybody Hates Chris? How Julius would react? All they do is smile and go, "Oh, that Ramona girl." Later, Ramona goes outside where she's greeted by her Aunt B, though there's only one Aunt B that I'll ever acknowledge. Shout out to my Andy Griffith Show fans out there. They talk about emotions and whatnot, and B ends the conversation by saying that even though Ramona's parents might be busy at times with the other siblings, she will always have her around. And honestly, bro, I thought she was gonna die when I saw this for the first time. Spoiler alert, she ends up living, but that is such a, oh, I'm gonna die later in this movie type scene to include. For the next scene, we see that there's construction going on in the Quimby household, which we later find out is to give the girls their own room. We get this cool sequence of Ramona playing with Howie in the empty space, using their imaginations to create a core memory. Kids, gotta love it. The vibes are at an all-time high right now, but things will unfortunately end up shifting.
He's home!
Oh, that brother lost his job. That brother lost his job, I can tell. I know a man who just lost his job when I see one. Look at him. Beezus, being the older one, is able to pick up on this. So she shares this information with Ramona while eating some candy. Yeah, enjoy it while it lasts. This high key might be y'all's last meal. There's something wrong with me, bro.
Okay, lights out, my lovelies.
Yeah, save that electric bill. Ramona, being Ramona, worries about the hole they have in their house, and Beezus, being the older sister, makes a joke about a monster that eats kids with bad report cards coming in through that hole. Yeah, that's Alex Russo, alright. The next day, Ramona picks out her lunch bag at school to look at what her dad drew.
Nice doodles. They're not doodles. They're sketches. My dad's extremely sketchy.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't say that out loud. Ramona's class has to present something special to the audience using a word from their vocabulary list. And whoa, it's Olive. Hey yo, where's that dude that always be telling me to review Anfarm? Yeah, here you go. This is about the closest you're gonna get. Ramona tells the class about the construction dudes who chopped a hole into her house, but because of the fact that she didn't explain it the best and also has a history of bending the truth, the class just laughs at her. And what makes matters worse is that the only person who could back her up, Howie, well, doesn't. L-mans. This leads to an argument between the two, one that gets interrupted by Howie's uncle Hobart. I was going to make an Iron Giant joke, but his name was Hogarth. Must be related. And it's implied that she and Ramona's Aunt B have known each other for a while and might have even dated. Ramona asks who he is, and her dad confirms that he used to date B in high school. They then get to the topic of jobs and if he's found one yet, and while the answer is no, he's not going to stop looking. He heads upstairs to get ready for Ramona's parent-teacher conference, and while discussing the future of their family and their living arrangements, he mentions something about selling the house. And when Ramona hears this, her world, as little as it may be, falls apart. After her parents leave, Ramona tries to talk to Beezus about potentially moving, but she gets a call from Henry, so she leaves to talk to him. Then to make matters worse, when Aunt B rolls around to watch the kids, Ramona tries to talk to her about it, but she's too distracted by the return of her old flame, Hobart. So this leads Ramona to talk to the one person that has to listen to her cat, Picky. Besides casually dropping the fact that he's a really old cat, which is something you should keep in mind, the scene is important because it's at this moment when Ramona decides that she is going to single-handedly save their house and stop them from moving.
I can be extraordinary. I'm glad we agree.
We'll be right back with Selena Gomez in Ramona and Beezus on Disney Channel. We now I'll return with Selena Gomez in Ramona and Beezus on Disney Channel.
In her first attempt to garner money to save the house, Ramona tries what most kids have done at some point in their lives, a lemonade stand, the original side hustle. Beezus walks out of the house to see what she's up to, which might not have been the best idea, because out of nowhere appears Zeke from Zeke and Luther, yeah! Nah, I'm playing, it's Henry Higgins. It's obvious that Beezus has a bit of a crush on him, because she starts acting all nervous and whatnot. Ramona offers Henry a cup of lemonade, and Beezus decides to drink one too. Unfortunately though, a nearby fly also had the taste for lemonade. Such an extreme reaction, bruh. It's not that serious. Beezus starts to get mad at Ramona, not just over what just happened, but all of the bad things that she's responsible for when it comes to ruining her life, including the nickname Beezus, as it's revealed that the reason why that's her nickname is because Ramona couldn't pronounce Beatrice as a baby. This negative interaction hasn't stopped Ramona's entrepreneurialism though. Now she's offering up car washes, and after going to a bunch of neighboring houses, she's finally able to get a job, but only because Hobart wants to have time to spend with Aunt B to rekindle their relationship. And honestly, I guess it pays off like later on in the movie, but these guys receive a lot of development, and I suppose it's needed for all the adults that took their kids to watch this movie, but even I kind of get tired of it after a while. Although I will say, I do like this dude's character. At first I thought he leaned towards like being a jerk, but this suspicion went out the window the moment he pulled out a $100 bill to give to Ramona for her car washing job. I mean, yeah, even though he's doing this to impress B, it's still kind of nice of him. So Ramona and Howie get to work while the two adults talk in the car, and yeah, it's mainly a bunch of standard rom-com dialogue, with the only real importance of the scene being Hobart revealing that in a few weeks he'll be moving to Alaska. Oh, and this.
Howie! Ramona! She's getting reeled in! Hobart, do something!
Yeah, yeah, I don't even have a joke for this one. This is yet another thing that the Quimby parents will have to pay for, unfortunately. And after calling a few different places, they start to get stressed out by how much it'll cost. Ramona goes to apologize, but...
You're sorry? I'm sorry, because now that I'm looking at it from a distance, I realize that I should be thanking you.
Oh, come on. Look, man, I know this is a children's movie and you want to keep things lighthearted, but dude, if that was me, I don't even, man. Nah, but this dude is totally losing it on the inside, bro. Ain't no way. The next day at school is picture day, a day I always hated back in elementary school. Always had to wear some dumb, stupid button-up shirt and dress pants instead of my usual blue jeans and Scooby-Doo, or, if I'm feeling fancy, SpongeBob shirt. After Dino Dan launches a grape into his mouth, Ramona feels inspired to show off a trick of her own, a magic trick that her dad showed her earlier in the movie involving a hard-boiled egg. But yeah, it's Ramona, so... As if things couldn't get any worse, when Howie's taking his picture, he questions why Martin Scorsese over here always tells him to say cheese. So, feeling inspired, when it's Ramona's turn, he tells her to say peas instead, which makes her gag considering she got peas thrown up on her the night prior. Beezus and her dad laugh at Ramona's pictures, with the latter apologizing for accidentally putting a raw egg in her lunch instead of a hard-boiled one. Ramona feels like she's useless considering all she does is mess stuff up. But after a pep talk from her dad, she's decided that starting now, she will be the best and most responsible 9-year-old ever. She does this by helping out her dad, watching her baby sister, and even mowing the lawn. And all of this hard work has paid off because although they probably were going to give it to her anyway, the room they've been installing has officially been offered to her. And we also get another one of those like sequences where we see the world the way Ramona does, and I mean, I never get sick of these. However, the vibes get a lot more spooky when she actually attempts to sleep by herself for the first time. Well, kind of by herself. I mean, she's got the cat, but you know. The next morning, she wakes up feeling sick. And at first I thought she was faking it for some reason, but in her words, she says that she's feeling better now, so she gets ready for school anyway. During music class, Ramona gets fixated on Olive's curly hair and actually ends up yanking it, which is something she's been doing for years now.
Look, I know they're supposed to be rough at home, but don't take it out on my curls.
Shut up, Ant Farm. Who do you think you're talking to like that? Somehow she found out that Ramona's dad lost his job, and the two get to talking about it. Olive actually knows a thing or two about parents losing jobs because her dad lost his at one point. And while things did end up working out on a financial standpoint in the long run, her dad ended up leaving the family, even moving away. Man, I'd move away too if I ended up having a daughter like... Never mind. All of this information makes Ramona panic, and well, remember what I said about her being better? Yeah, that's not entirely true now. Ramona's dad picks her up, but of course the car stops working in front of the entire class. Man, now everybody knows that she's broke. After finally going home, Ramona's dad... Okay, what is this dude's name? Robert? Okay, cool. Robert checks on Ramona and says that they shouldn't let one bad day get them down. Instead, they should do something fun. Just the two of them. See, respectfully, when I was homesick from school, I wasn't trying to talk to none of my parents. That was my time to sit in the TV room and turn on all the sick day bangers like Mr. Men's Show, Baby Looney Tunes, Crypto, A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, and if I'm feeling lucky, I might even catch a rerun of High Five on Ready, Set, Learn. What y'all know about that, huh? Yeah! Robert comes up with the idea to draw the longest picture in the world, and Ramona likes that idea. They get the drawing, and that's when Robert drops some epic dad lore. He used to love art back in the day. He even studied it. But once Beezus was born, he had to stop so he could get the best job available. But he mentions that he wouldn't change anything about his life because his daughters bring him an abundance of joy. Really? Even Ramona? Alright, bro, whatever. Meanwhile, Zeke and Alex Russo take a trip down memory lane since they've known each other since they were kids. Man, does this town just like stay the same or something? It feels like everybody knows everybody. She starts info dumping to him about how her dad lost his job and how he's worried about the future of his family. Zeke, or Henry, I guess, is confused why she didn't tell him this a while ago, and Beezus says that it's just a little harder to talk to him now. It's different than it was a few years ago, and he agrees that he's felt the same way. But despite this, he does that stupid nose flick thing and states that some things never change. Man, this Henry dude is so lame compared to Zeke, bruh. It's actually kind of funny and totally not coincidental that I brought up Zeke because, well, as some of you may have heard, I am officially doing a multi-hour Zeke and Luther video. Yes, it's happening. The review that I've teased for like 2 years now is finally dropping. And this is the final video in my rollout that I did to lead up to it. If you notice, the past few movies I reviewed on this channel have all had cast members of Zeke and Luther. Adam Hicks was in How to Eat Fried Worms, Ryan Newman was in Zoom, and Hutch Dano is, of course, in this movie right here. This was all done on purpose to lead up to the review. It's also why I've only uploaded once a month the past few months. I've been working on the Zeke and Luther video. I'm aiming for it to come out soon. I have 3 hours done right now, 4 probably by the time this video drops, and I'm really excited to share it all with you guys. It's some of my best work so far, and I think you guys will enjoy it. You can actually watch a good amount of it on my Patreon right now if you're interested. I don't want to waste any more of your guys' time though, so let's get back to the video. The next day, Ramona presents the art project that she made with her dad to the class as a do-over for her last project.
What about the paintings in those big churches in Europe? I mean, aren't they longer?
I mean, aren't your parents divorced? Get out of here. Ramona's art project is a hit amongst her class members. They're all pretty amazed by it. It seems like, for once, things are looking up for Ramona. To capitalize on her good luck streak, she's decided to audition for a peanut butter commercial that's being shot in her area. While working on a shirt to wear with her sister, the two overhear their parents arguing. And then later, they see their dad taking out the pull-out couch to presumably sleep on. Uh-oh. And that dude lost his job. Now he about to lose his wife. Keep up this for you, go end up like Buddy from Pursuit of Happiness. I don't know why I'm so mean today. Although the kids are concerned, Robert assures them that he isn't getting a divorce and that things will go back to normal in the morning. So in the meantime, Ramona heads to her audition the next day, getting dropped off by her aunt and Hobart. Oh great, Aunt Farm is here too. Realizing that she should probably get a tiara since it is a princess audition, she heads out to ask her aunt for one, but once she sees her talking to Hobart, she decides to make one herself from a bush. And although it is creative, it's likely not what the producers were looking for. Plus, after wiping out when she's asked to twirl, it's obvious that she will not be getting the part. Robert tries to help her get the twigs out of her hair, but it's still really messy. Huh, you know what? She kind of looks like Judy B. Jones. Robert heads out because he has an interview that's 2 hours away, so he leaves Beezus in charge and mentions that their mom is still at the office, so they should be nice to each other. To make up for what happened to her hair, Ramona decides to make her mom dinner so she doesn't have to when she gets home. This is not a good idea, bro. Y'all are just asking to blow up the house. She picks up the house phone and turns out it's Henry Higgins. Of course, Beezus wants to talk to him, but of course, Ramona is going to be a pest about it.
Should I call back later?
No, I want you.
Huh? As if things are going to get worse, like it's an episode of iCarly, a fire erupts. The siblings freak out over this, but Beezus, being the older one, grabs the extinguisher and puts it out. This leads to her scolding Ramona about her behavior and how she'll never truly mature. She'll always just be a pest who ruins everything. Beezus doesn't even want her to check on her sister after she starts crying. Instead, she just tells her to do arguably the easiest chore she could do, feed the cat. But sadly, she won't even get the chance to do that, because it appears that Picky has passed away.
Beezus! What now? He's dead. Picky's dead.
Not wanting to give their mother any more stress when she arrives home, the pair decide to take it upon themselves to bury the cat. And after both of them give speeches, the two embrace. Later, when their mom gets home, they tell her everything and she commends the girls on how they handled it. Then, once Robert comes home, the girls prepare to tell him the news. But he actually has news to share himself. That's right, he got the job. But unfortunately, it would mean that they have to move. Ugh, hate moving. You'll find out more about that in my Zeke and Luther video though. Ramona and Beezus talk about the challenges of moving, like going to a new school and meeting on new kids. Eventually, this leads to Beezus telling her that no matter what happens, she should remember that being different isn't a bad thing, and she should keep going at it. It takes a lot of bravery to be yourself and not care what other people think, a lesson that even adults can still learn. The next morning, Ramona looks out the window to see them putting up a for sale sign. And turns out her realtor is actually Aunt Farm's mom, making it a little embarrassing for Ramona. The women of the family help straighten out the garden before the house is officially up for sale. During this, Aunt B talks to her sister about Hobart, asking her to go to Alaska with them. And I really don't care about the subplot. I guess this little scene was needed though, because it reveals there's actually a bit of tension between the two. And because of that, when Ramona accidentally sprays Bro with the hose, he immediately assumes it's B. An entire war breaks out between the two families. And alright, this scene's kind of fun. And it's a good thing that Dad got a job because this is a total waste of money. Earlier in the movie, Hobart was digging a bunch of holes as he was presumably looking for something. And we don't find out exactly what it is until, well, now, when the pressure from the water sends it flying in the air. You see, decades ago, he buried a time capsule that was filled with a bunch of stuff from he and B's high school dating years, including a ring. And well, you know what happens next. You know, seeing Josh Jamal hold that ring makes me think about how 10 years ago, he would have been a great Hal Jordan. You know, actually, I was thinking about this Lantern show, and I think they have the opportunity. Yeah, sorry, she says yes. The entire family starts planning out this last-minute makeshift wedding, and they're all really excited. That is, everyone except Ramona, who's struggling to grasp all of these changes going on at once. She runs back to her home, where an open house is being held. I'm getting PTSD right now, and I'm sure a lot of you are too, so you've gone through a move like this before. This feeling that Ramona is feeling, I know it all too well. 10-minute version, Taylor's version from the vault. She runs to her little hiding spot that she had in the house that I assume she used more when she was littler, because when she tries to walk on the floor, she falls through it. What I don't get though is the dad chastising her for this when this was truly just an accident. Like, yeah, some of the other stuff was too, and maybe this is just his reaction to everything building up, but still. He's all like, you gotta stop doing this stuff. You need to grow up, Ramona. Bro, relax. I get it's in the middle of an open house, but chill. Yeah. And now she's gonna run away. Thanks a lot, Robert. Every kid at some point in their time threatened to run away. Billy Forrester and How to Eat Fried Worms did it. You should check out my video on that. Knowing that she isn't really going to go anywhere, her mom decides to help her pack a bigger suitcase so she can fit more of her stuff in there. As she walks away from her house, we get another one of those sequences that I like, where we see all these different places behind her. She actually gets surprisingly far, going all the way to the bus stop. She unzips the bag to find out why it's so heavy, and well, she gets her answer. Inside the bag are a bunch of heavy items like bowling balls and dumbbells to slow her down. Honestly, it's pretty impressive that she was able to pick it up like that earlier considering she's 9. While flipping through a book that was in there, she finds all of these sketches that her dad made of her, which of course is a reminder that her dad, and of course her entire family, loves her. A message that becomes even more clear when her family comes to pick her up and reassure her that she will be a Quimby for life. The next day, the wedding for Hobart and Bee commences. Can't believe Bee out here marrying a dude named Hobart, but alright. Howie attempts to hand them the ring, but it flies up into the air after getting stuck to the pillow. But Ramona spots it and for once actually saves the day. And the two could finally make things official.
Hobart, you may kiss the bride.
This girl really kissing a dude named Hobart, bro. Watch, I'm gonna get someone in the comments like, my grandfather's name is Hobart. Yeah, and he stinks too. I'm kidding. At the reception, everyone, rightfully so, is in a really good mood. And literally everyone from the movie is here, bruh. It must be a small town. Even Zeke is here. Considering that she's about to move, he finally works up the courage to tell her that he likes her. But before he can get all of his words out, Beezus does this. Very nice, very nice. Okay, my man Zeke, look at, oh, whoa, no, that's definitely a dance move. I kid you not, he actually does this exact same dance a couple years later in an episode of Zeke and Luther. This must be a Hutch Dano thing. Ramona dances with her dad and he drops a bomb on her. Not literally, because that wouldn't be very cash money of him. But no, he mentions that Mrs. Meacham passed along the art project that he made with her to the principal, and well, he is now the new art teacher at Ramona's school. Meaning they don't have to move after all, which means Henry didn't have to tell Beezus that he likes her, but oh well, a win is a win. The family waves goodbye to Bee and Hobart as they drive away to begin their new life. And as for the Quimbys, well, they go back into their house. The house that Ramona technically did end up saving after all, because when you think about it, they would have never made that art project if she didn't puke at school. So shout out to Ramona, bruh, coming in clutch for real. That's crazy.
We're declaring that today is Sisters Day because in the new movie Ramona and Beezus, Joey King and Selena Gomez play sisters who do a lot of growing up together.
I'm her little sister and I can be a pest sometimes. Mama, I'm Beezus. But really throughout the movie we connect better and I think sisters will really like that.
Who starts the water fight scene? Ramona.
You can make today Sisters Day by catching Ramona and Beezus in theaters now, rated G.
Happy Sisters Day.
So, Ramona and Beezus. Well, I can't say how good it is from an adaptation standpoint since I've never read the books, but as a movie, I'd say it's good enough, if that makes sense. I don't normally do this, but I'm just going to get the actual rating out the way. I'll give it a light 7 out of 10. On a creativity standpoint, this movie does a lot of things right. I mentioned it every single time they did this, but whenever we saw the world through Ramona's point of view, I thought those scenes were really well made. There was definitely an attempt to make it feel like a different kind of kids movie, and I'm sure the 6 to 11-year-olds this was designed for probably thought those scenes were hard in theaters. I also just think that the movie does a good job at keeping things entertaining, at least when it's focused on the title characters. The little shenanigans that Ramona would do definitely sparked a feeling of nostalgia and, I don't know, wonder. That's another movie I like, actually. There's stuff in here that I think would probably make children laugh without it going into the fart and barf joke. Well, I guess technically there was a barf scene in this movie, but like it was needed and it wasn't, really a joke. It's not like it was some cheap shot at making kids laugh. No, they handled it well. The movie never really made me laugh. At the most, I probably just smirked, but that's just me not being the target demographic. They definitely played it safe with the humor. As far as characters go, the best part about this movie probably is actually Ramona. I thought that Joey King played a really likable character despite several people in the movie not really liking her at times. I think all sorts of kids, watching this can definitely relate to her character. I know I definitely saw parts of myself in her, even when watching this as an adult. I actually felt bad for her at times because you could tell she genuinely did want to change, but it was hard because she's clearly neurodivergent, as am I, and I'm sure a lot of you. Even after doing some research on her character in the books, I've seen that many others have drawn this conclusion as well, with some kids with ADHD even picking up on it. With this being the case, it's no wonder why she still remains to be a popular character in children's literature. Even if it wasn't 100% intentional, Beverly Cleary created a great character that tons of kids and even adults can relate to. As for the other characters, it's weird. This is called Ramona and Beezus, but like I said, I feel like it was only for marketing purposes because this movie really isn't centered around Ramona and Beezus. You know, a portion of it obviously does follow their relationship, but not enough for me to justify that being the movie's title, if that makes sense. Robert, Aunt Bee, and to a lesser extent Hobart all received a lot of attention in this movie. I'd even argue more so than Beezus. Even with this being the case though, I thought Beezus was good. She was very stereotypical kids movie teenage girl, but not always in a bad way. She helps out Ramona just as much as she argues with her, which I feel like is just a common sibling thing. She cool though. She had her little arc with Henry. That was nice. Not much else to say about her. The dad is probably my second favorite character in the movie. He was very patient and understanding of Ramona, for the most part at least. He's not perfect, but he's definitely the kind of dad a lot of kids would want. I have no notes on the mom. She just existed. Shout out to Picky, was a W cat for real. The characters I really didn't care for though were definitely Bee and Hobart. It's not that they're bad characters. I even mentioned earlier that I liked Hobart, but I do kind of feel like the quality of the movie went down whenever a scene was focused on them. I didn't care for their plot at all. It felt like a different movie, and I understand it had a big payoff in the end and also gave like the adults that were watching something to be interested in, but to me it just wasn't very interesting. While I think the premise of trying to reach an older audience at times is admirable, I don't really think it was needed in a movie like this. I think also this movie was just overwhelmingly sweet and positive, which is why aside from the movie starring two actors from Disney sitcoms, I thought it was a Disney movie. I mean, technically it is now because it was made by Fox and, you know, but I think that sweetness just comes from it being rated G. The last two movies I reviewed were PG, and although you might not notice the difference when you're younger, it can definitely be felt now. And this isn't really a critique, more so just me preferring stuff like Fried Worms that have a little more, for lack of better words, edge to them. It's a well-made, thoughtful, and inoffensive kids movie that, although it runs a bit longer than it needs to, I feel, will likely entertain a child for an hour and a half. It's not great, in my opinion. I'd argue it's even a little forgettable, but there's not much objectively wrong with it. But those are just my thoughts on the movie, and I'd like to know yours. Let me know in the comments below. Zeke and Luther video coming soon, man. So excited. Stay tuned. If you're new, hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed the video, then feel free to like it as well. I am Mr. Nostalgia, and I'm out for now. Peace.